the idea of the seminar today is about what are the alternatives to the GMAT. Okay, it's interesting because I think that like last year or 2 years ago, I would have never organized a seminar on this. By the way, I've written several posts. If you follow me on LinkedIn, 4 or 5 about this. Okay, we're going to see the situation, what is possible, what we advise, etc. Okay, so that's me. I think that you have heard about me. Okay, so Anushka, she's working for us.
Good evening, sir.
ESMT Lyric AI. By the way, she has used alternative tests because she decided to not take the GMAT. So basically, the way it works, up to 2 years ago, I would say that the situation was like this. People could take, so you have to take language tests, okay? By the way, you know that you have TOEFL, IELTS, and you have, by the way, a new language test called Duolingo. So with the COVID, a new test has appeared because Duolingo was the only one that you could take at home at the time where TOEFL was not available at home. So they have taken their market share during the COVID situation. In terms of reasoning test, so you Indians, you know the CAT, that's why I've put the CAT. It is of course accepted by IIM and ISB, but also by some US and European schools. Okay, so the CAT is a difficult GMAT. Then you have the GMAT, you have the GRE, and you have TAJMAJ, for instance, one of them. Okay, so let's take tests that have over 30,000 test takers. Okay, so GMAT it's about 250,000, GRE 100,000, GMAT TAJMAJ about 30,000, and CAT I don't know. But I would say that we are probably above 50,000 in India. So it's between 50 to 60,000. Okay, basically these tests are accepted. The problem of these tests is, of course, that they are difficult. Okay, they are difficult to take because they are yes, they are challenging. As you know, we teach the GMAT every day at MD Center, and we see that that some people who are very good only get 680. Some people have difficulties getting even 600. Some people give up. Okay, so we know that it's a challenge. So you know what the GMAT is made about. So the GMAT has a quantitative section, a verbal section, an essay, okay, and data interpretation. So this test is the most difficult test in the league. People say that the CAT, the Indian CAT is difficult. Yes, but I think that the GMAT requires even more to prepare. But the CAT, of course, is a difficult test as well. So you have the GMAT. So of course, if you get a 750 on the GMAT, it opens all the doors. Okay, and schools prefer the GMAT. So that's another question that they say, okay, among all the tests that I've mentioned, TAJMAJ, CAT, GRE, GMAT, which one do they prefer? They prefer the GMAT because they know that recruiters will have a look at the GMAT, and they know also that rankings use the GMAT. So of course, the Financial Times ranking does not use the GMAT, but for instance, MBA Center has a ranking, we use the GMAT. US News and World Report has a ranking, they use the GMAT. So for instance, in the MBA Center ranking, the GMAT accounts for 10%. Okay, so while promoting our ranking, will be launched this summer. Okay, once it is on the website. So that's a test that is necessary. And why do we believe that the GMAT should be taken into account in the rankings? Because it indicates the selectivity of the program. And by the way, you could make a ranking from the average GMAT scores, and you see that you'll have what? You'll have Harvard number 1, Stanford number 2, Wharton number 3, MIT number 4, Columbia number 5. And obviously, you'll agree that if I tell you that it is the 5 best business schools in the world, you will also agree to that. So ranking the school through their average GMAT is not a bad thing to do. Then you have another score called the GRE. So the GRE is also accepted by business schools, but of course it is slightly less regarded than the GMAT. Okay, so who takes the GRE? So who are the students who take the GRE? Students basically who, how can I say, who have difficulties with math, because the GRE on the math part is easier. Okay. The GRE overall is an easier test. And also what I've noticed with the GRE is that the GRE is not fully adaptative like the GMAT is. And so basically when you score well at home, so let's say 320 and above, it's very rare that you get something less. Whereas I have many students who score 780 at home and we get 700, okay, and 780 several times. Okay? Basically, the GRE more predictable and easier in math. Plus, on the GRE, you have a calculator in the program. So if you're bad at mental math, it's the test for you. Okay, but of course, the GRE is not taken into account into rankings. MBA Center does not take the GRE into account, nor US News and World Report. Okay, then you have the CAT. So the CAT is basically used only in India, but for instance, ESSEC, and now many other schools are going to use it. We are asking schools to use the CAT. So the advantage of the CAT is first, it is inexpensive, and second of all, it's done from Indian students. Okay, unfortunately, it is only used in India, only ESSEC for the time being. So ESSEC Business School, I'm sure that you know this school, rank among the top 15 best business schools in the world, probably, where I teach, by the way, is using the CAT because I asked my school to use the CAT. As you know, I love India and I have no problem advising our partners to use the CAT. Then you have the TAJMAJ. The TAJMAJ is only accepted by French schools or in French-speaking countries, and it is a GMAT but in French. Okay, and the test is not computer-based; it is given on paper. So there may be some French-speaking students here. So if they want to apply to French schools or to schools in Quebec, they can take the TAJMAJ. But the TAJMAJ is a difficult test. Okay, so basically, here we are for the situation. So basically, if you follow me, you have seen that I've written several articles on tests, and I was trying to explain that now basically you have three situations. Okay, so you have the situation of the school accepting the traditional test, so the test that have, so basically all the schools accept this test. Then you have schools that have decided to accept another test, which is called the executive assessment test, which was previously used by business schools or by EMBA programs, and that now schools are using. So, for instance, Columbia, Cornell, Duke, Georgetown, Michigan accept the EA test, and now you have even a third situation, okay, which is that you can ask for a waiver, okay. So, for instance, we did it last year, but it never worked. I did it for about 10 students, and it never worked. So you ask for a waiver. So you say, okay, look, I understand you need the GMAT, but I had very good grades when I was at school. So can I get a waiver? And you can get the waiver. Okay. So we will mention all that. So what about waivers? So it seems to me, especially when you're Indian, that it is not the test, the approach to select, because when you come from a pool of candidates that is very competitive, the GMAT will be a plus, okay? And so as an Indian, if you ask for a GMAT waiver, there is almost no chance that you get into a top school. Forget it. Okay? But I have heard that some students could get a waiver and could get a school, but no one from the 1,000 students that we have at MBA Center got in with a waiver. So basically, what seems to be a good approach is executive assessment test, because the EA test is created by the same company that is created by the company that owns the GMAT, called the GMSE, the company that owns the website called MBA.com. And the EA test is an easy test. Why is it easy? First, it is shorter, the questions are easier, you have no geometry, etc. But second of all, the scoring is from 0 to 170, and the scoring, so the tables, the percentage below, the scoring that corresponds to a certain percentage of students, was made from executive MBA students. Okay, so which means that, for instance, if you get a 160, which corresponds probably to a 550 GMAT, and we said that the 160 puts you in the top 12%, and they will convert the 160 EA test into a 680 when your real level is 550. So of course it was very, very, very good for many students. So all the students that I had who took the EA test and that were a bit weak. So we have, for instance, a lot of students, unfortunately, in South America who don't do very well on tests, and they score between 158 to 163. So we say the current of GMAT 550 to 620, and they could get Darden, Tuck, NYU, Cornell, Duke. Okay, so it's something to consider, especially for an Indian, when you have to consider that anyway Indians do pretty well. So I would say, imagine that you're an Indian, you score 650, which is low for an Indian applicant. Okay, and then suddenly you say, why don't I take the EA test? I will get the 165. 165, they will convert it into a 750. Okay, and then I will stand out. That's something that you can do. Okay, so I have an EA test, EA class. It's every Sunday evening. It's mainly for my students in South America, so I have about 20 for the time being, and they prepare the EA test with us, and it's going pretty well. We have good results. So last year we had good results, and there's no reason that we don't get good results this year. So this one is typically the test to invest in. Okay, so because of the translation between an EA test and the GMAT, it is favorable. It's like, I don't know, you have you have a flat in Paris, and they give you the same flat in New York. You will win 100% because the price of a flat in Paris is half the price of a flat in New York. Imagine that they give you for the same price a flat in New York and a flat in Paris, or a flat in New York and a flat in New Delhi. It's okay. A flat in New York, in Manhattan, for instance, is worth much more money. So yeah, it can happen. Huh? Okay. So don't forget about this test, EA test. One of the claims, of course, that you have on the EA test is that you have very little material. Basically, the GMSC offers you a package that costs $475, when you have 200 questions and 4 tests, which is, of course, not little. So what we do with our students, we prepare them on the GMAT, and then they have like private tutoring on the EA test. So they follow GMAT classes, and then the last month, they use the 300 questions and the 4 tests to finalize their preparation using the EA test. So that's what we have to do because we run out of EA material. Then you have, that's the example of the problem that I had with Anushka, the problem of the opportunities. So it happens that some students, like Anushka, she wanted to study in Europe because the EA test today is only accepted by top US MBA programs or top executive MBA programs. But I see the age of the students, you're probably not in the range of an MBA. So basically, there are also what we call in-house tests. Okay. The in-house test, so the famous one, so HULT has his own test, even though they don't really use it, okay? So it's an easy GMAT because the HAT was designed by MBA.com. Vlerick, which is the best business school in Belgium and the second best in Benelux. So Benelux stands for Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, so it's a small country. So they have their own test. So Vlerick is the second best business school in Benelux after Rotterdam School of Management, that you all know. Then IE has his own test called the IGAT. Okay. The German schools have created are using a sort of German GMAT, but that is in English, called TM-VISO. If you apply to SMT, Mannheim, WHU, you can use the TM-VISO, and ESCP is using a nature recruitment test called SHL, and they use the SHL for academic recruitment, whereas the SHL test was initially designed for HR recruitment. Okay, Anushka will come back to us. Okay, and you have other in-house tests for instance, ESADE has his own test, Antwerp has his own test, Frankfurt they have also the BT method. So it seems that they are all using that test. So of course, what I feel is that it's a big asset that you have one test. I think that you have the GMAT. So the first advantage of the GMAT is that for the school is that you have one test. So it means that you don't feel that you're trapped into one school, because of course, if you take for instance the IGAT and you somehow pass the IGAT, you can only apply to IE. Whereas if you get the GMAT, you can apply to all these schools plus many others. So first, it's an advantage to have a test that is recognized by many schools. I think that with all these tests coming up, we are going a bit backward in our industry. Okay. So what I would say, so wonderful, the recognition will never be the same. So you have to know, and Anushka will tell you about this, is that
Yes.
is that you never receive a score. You will never know your SHL score.
Yes,
You
sir.
never
We
know
don't
your
know it.
IGAT score. You never know your
Yeah.
score. Probably because they how can I say they yes, there's a scoring, but they want to have some freedom. So for instance, if the student is very good as a low test score, they still want to take him or her. Okay. Now, of course, the test count. For instance, when I started, we were based in Belgium, and I had people taking the VBAT. They were not my student at that time, okay? But what happened is that the school, Lyric, asked them to retake the test, and then we prepared them, so they did well. So I know that they have cut off. So if, for instance, you get only 30% of the question right on the Lyric test, you will not get in. Same thing if you get less than 50% of the question right on the IGAT, you will not get in. So I know that they have cut off, but of course, it's not as tough, as demanding as the GMAT, for sure. Okay. The other thing that you have is that for some of these tests, you have very few tests available. For instance, for the IGAT, you can take the IGAT once in your life. Okay. For the SHL, once per year. Okay. For the HAT, I think that you can take it only once in your life because there's only one test available. So you understand? So that's why I said that it is a bit of regression because the GMAT, you can take it every 2 weeks. You can take it up to 8 times in your life, 5 times in a year. There's a lot of material available. You know your score. So the GMAT is a step forward. Okay. If we were to go back in all these tests, first, me as a teacher, it will make our life very difficult because it means that we'll have to prepare students for 20 different tests, which would be a problem. Alors, that's something that I do because in France, each BBA program has its own test. So that's something that I know and I master and understand this approach. But that's not something. It requires a lot of development. For instance, we have no software for this test. I understand. So ND Center is investing now in the IGAT and the EA test. Okay, but we cannot invest in so many tests because the number of people taking the test. So for publishers, it's a problem. So we say that. So we say first. So it's not a good thing because there's less material, less history. Second of all, you don't know your score. Third of all, you cannot take it as many times as you want. Then, of course, these tests are not recognized by employers. If you say, anyway, you don't know your score. So if you say, I took the SHL, you don't even know which score you got, you cannot put it in your CV and apply for a job at Goldman Sachs or McKinsey. Okay. Anyway, McKinsey and Goldman Sachs will ask you for the GMAT if you're applying for a top MBA. And if you're applying for a position with them. So I strongly suggest that you get all that. So basically, now we're going to share, we're going to talk to Anushka, who came to meet us today. Anushka, I don't know,
Yes, sir.
23
Yeah.
people. Alors basically,
Yes, sir.
Anushka, so what happened? Why have you decided one day to stop the GMAT and go for in-house test?
So it was like I gave first attempt and it wasn't good. Then I gave the second attempt, so it kind of like my self-esteem went really down. So then I discussed with you, my father, and also like we came upon a strategy that yes, there's still an option for me to go to top schools. That because I knew that GMAT was not for me because even after 2 attempts I'm not able to score a good score. That's why I guess that's why I went for an alternative. I guess it works wonders for me.
Yes. So basically, she decided to do so because yes, when we found out, when was it? Late 2020, we found out that you never passed
Yes,
the
sir.
GMAT,
January,
and
January,
we
December,
decided
January.
to go. So first, we prepared the VBAT.
Yeah,
Remember, you got Derek. Then after
yeah.
that, we prepared the IGAT because IE
So
was
yeah,
really
first
your.
Holt, then Valeric, then IEAT.
And then we applied to German schools. But since you knew that it was going well with Derek and the German schools, with Derek and IE, your confidence,
Yeah,
your motivation went down because you knew that you get the school. And of course, you have to understand that each time you have to prepare a new test. So each time it was
yeah,
like 3 weeks preparation per test. So
yeah,
you see, of course, fortunately, these tests are much easier than the GMAT, but each time they require specificity. So what is in common between all these tests? There's always some mathematics. All these tests require some mathematics,
yeah.
some data
Documents.
interpretation, okay?
Yeah, alarm.
Some what we call inductive reasoning, which is a bit like the critical reasoning, and usually and some logic, okay? So, in a way or another. Of course, that's what I would say. So always some logic, some inductive reasoning, some math, and some data interpretation, okay? And after that, well, some may have, may not have, but usually they go around these things, okay? If you have taken, for instance, recruitment test, you're familiar with this test because the in-house tests are in reality HR recruitment tests used by academic institutions. Okay. Now, basically, I have a first student from Calvin Gasto, who is probably French. Calvin is asking for the link between the two. So we say that even a 700 on the GMAT would be more like a 450. But schools consider that the 400 on the GMAT is a 700. Okay, so you have to see there's a big gap, big question between all these tests is that what schools consider and what is the reality. Okay, so basically the reality would be very simple. You say you could make an equivalence to the percentage below. You say, I don't know, you have 10% of the people, 10% of the people who get 400. So the top 10% of the GMAT should be equivalent. So you should do that from the percentage below. Okay, but of course, schools have other ways of assessing tests. So I would say a 400 is a 700. Okay. Basically, yes, if you are targeting top schools, you should have target 400. Now I had students who got ESSEC with a 340 on the GMAT, on the Taj badge, which is unfair because ESSEC is asking for 700 on the GMAT. And it is, of course, much easier to get 350 than it is to get 700, especially when it is your own language, because the Taj badge is in French. So basically, it went. So was it a good idea to switch from the GMAT to in-house test, Anushka?
Yes, so for me, it actually worked a lot well because, like, I found my strengths in those tests as my accuracy, verbal reasoning, and LR were pretty good.
Hmm?
So that's why for me it was very fruitful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well. So basically, I see that there are some people that are here who came, okay, and who can also testify. So there is, for instance, there is your brother, there is Animesh, who is now a student with us. So Animesh, so what is the approach that we have with you, Animesh? Can you tell us what are the approach that we have with test, Animesh? Animesh?
Hi, Dr. Good. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Animesh.
Yeah. So right now, I learned from my sister. Basically, I saw her past 1 year and like her working with Dr. Hubert and how like a step-by-step approach and putting in hours, like at least 2 hours daily or at least 3 hours daily and 20 hours a week. So that really helps because GMAT is a very adaptive test and it requires a lot of like different kind of questions and like you have to be very accurate. You have to maintain a lot of accuracy in that term.
Okay.
So my approach is basically take one question at a time, do it, understand it, not to spend more than 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes, and move forward with that. Yeah.
But what I want to say with you, Animesh, is that basically, no, you want to apply for an MBA or Master in Data Science. We don't know yet. Okay. So we have selected quite a lot of programs. You agree? And what we have decided to do together, so basically we have three approach. For some schools, we're going to ask for a waiver, but schools that we know give waivers easily, like Georgetown, Boston University, and we do not discriminate because you have a waiver. Okay. So then we're going to also use the EA. So you also have a EA private tutoring. We agree, and then you come to GMAT group classes. So you're going to have a multiple approach. GMAT, EA, no GMAT. Okay. So basically, for tools who feel a bit weak on test, that's the approach that you should have. So basically, if you don't want to take the GMAT, but only for schools for which it's not really important. So Georgetown and BU, Boston University, are schools who do not really discriminate. Okay. I give you an example. For instance, Michigan can give you waivers, but I'm sure that as an Indian or as a European, if you apply with a GMAT waiver, it would be almost impossible to get in. Okay. Whereas I've noticed this year that students who have applied without GMAT to Georgetown or to BU have been able to get in. Okay, so basically they don't really discriminate. They say, okay, you don't have the GMAT. We're going to start from scratch we don't give you minus 10 points because you don't have the GMAT. Okay, so as I believe that the others they make a difference. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And of course, what Animesh said with reasons. So to give you an idea, when you prepare the GMAT at MBA Center, you have to come in class from 9 to 12. You have 1 hour break. You have to take a test from 1 to 4 every Saturday. You have to work with your study buddy, like 2 hours per week. Plus, you have to do probably 10 hours on your own. Okay, from working from basically official guides. Okay, so of course, it represents a lot of work. The big advantage of the alternative test is that they require less work than the GMAT. Okay, so that's not a good thing. Of course, the GMAT is more valuable, but of course, it requires more work. That's obvious. Huh? So for Animesh, that's what we have decided to do. So basically, we have anticipated that Animesh will probably not get a 700, probably a 650. And in some schools, it's preferable that he comes with a 160 EA than a 650 GMAT. And in other schools, that doesn't come with a GMAT at all. Okay? You agree? So you understand? So basically,
Yeah.
that's why sometimes I meet many coaches who are in our field, our test prep experts, supposedly. And when I talk to them, I say, but what is your alternative? What is your strategy with test? And they say, they have to take the GMAT. They say, but you know that there are other alternatives now, okay? And they don't really consider that. And of course, people who work as admission consultant, okay, they don't know test at all. They don't understand what is an in-house test, what is an EA test, what is the GMAT compared to the GRE. It's something that is really unknown to them. Huh? So yes, me, as you know, I know test very well. I've written about 50 books on test. So I understand how it works. And so MBA Center is working on 2 research projects now. One is the EA test and one is on the IGAT. So we are constantly producing material on new tests, and probably by next year we start to produce our own tests probably. Huh? So we are raising capital like $50 million to develop a real company that can compete against ETS and such. So Akshat, thank you very much for coming. So Akshat is like this from Belgium. Akshat? So Akshat is a good example. So Akshat, so he has an Indian name, but he's Belgium, Akshat. And we know each other very well because he's my student in Brussels. So Akshat, what has been your situation and why have we decided also together that we should do both GMAT and EA? Why?
Just to have more options open in case target schools that accept these things. And anyway, they have different approaches for taking those tests. So maybe you can score better on the other, so they still have some ground cover.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So basically, but of course, you Akshat, you want to study in the US. Of course, if you want to study at INSEAD, they don't accept the EA, or they accept the EA for the executive master. And honestly, I don't recommend to do an executive MBA. Honestly, to pay $100,000 for 10 weeks of class, I find you could make a better investment of your money. Okay, let's put it that way. If you want to have an INSEAD, go for a short program that costs you far less, and you have the INSEAD name on your CV. It will cost you less money. Huh? You agree? So basically, so Akshat, he knows that if he doesn't get a good GMAT, he will be in the US, and probably that's something we'll have to work on, Akshat, as well. So we can ask for some waivers. But you know, of course, if it's a waiver, it's Georgetown or BU. By the way, you know, now MBA Center has a ranking, and Georgetown or BU are in the top 20. It's a top 20 US MBA, so it's an elite MBA. If you consider that you have like 3,000 business schools in the world, if you're already in the top 20, you're an elite program. Of course, it's not Harvard, but if you go to Georgetown, you can do very well. Me, for instance, when I applied, the first time I applied in MBAs, I'd been accepted to Georgetown. I didn't go. But if I had not been accepted anywhere else, I would have gone to Georgetown. It's not a bad school. Okay? And after that, the degree is important, but it's the person that matters as well. Huh? Okay, so I would have taken Georgetown if I had only had Georgetown. Okay, so basically that's something else. Also, another technique that you have to use is that you have to see that American programs are much more selective, okay, because they have twice as many students, up to 3 times as many students as European programs, and they are super selective. Okay, so for instance, I give you an example. Akshat with a 680 we get INSEAD. With a 670 we get LBS. Okay, there's no way you can get a US program. So imagine that, for instance, you have done pretty well, 650, 660. you can apply to HEC. For instance, this year I got students accepted to HEC with 640, 650. Okay, it would be impossible to set such program. Now, I give you an example. So the student that I had accepted, the French guy actually, that I had accepted to HEC with the 650, they could not get the exchange program with Yale. Okay, you know, HEC has an exchange program with Yale and NYU. So it's not an exchange program, by the way, it's a double degree. If you have 650, you get HEC, but you don't get the double degree. So you see, that's why when people say we don't discriminate against the GMAT, no, it's not true. It may be interesting for exchange programs, for double degree. Employers will ask for it. So basically, you don't have many ways out. Huh? So just to tell you the idea is that it's also something necessary. So somehow I would say that as I was writing in my post, I say a 750 will save you. Okay, so of course people are going to say it's not easy to get, but try to do your best to get a 750. Okay, and if you don't get the 750, you will try later on. Okay, but yeah, that's what I suggest. Okay. So Akshat, what are you doing now? You're preparing on both. You're working on both, and then I will meet you soon to work on the applications, basically. Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, I will aim to do them both around September. I need more time to prepare because my last attempt was with less preparation, and yeah, I just need more time.
Of course.
And then aim for 2022 entry.
Okay. And of course, if you get, of course, away. So what do I do if I get a score that is just average and not enough? Apply early. Try to have the best possible application. Showing interest in the school. This type of thing can help you. Yes, it can help you. For instance, who did I see this year? Who got? Yes, for instance, I have a student, for instance, this year from the BCG in Madrid, because I work a lot with the BCG in Madrid, and he got 650 and he got INSEAD, which is normally not what you get. You don't get INSEAD with the 650. But I think that the guy, he went, he was a graduate from the best engineering school in Spain. Then he was working as he was a senior associate for the Boston Consulting Group. So yes, they will take you as well. People are not stupid. They say anyway, we don't have that many Spanish applicants. The guy graduated from one of the best engineering schools of his country. He is working for the BCG, sponsored by the BCG. They have nothing to lose. They know that after that he wants to work in private equity. They know that he will work in private equity after the BCG and after INSEAD. So they didn't take a big risk. So you see, of course, there is what is written in the website, and there is the reality that is slightly different. Who else have we got? Was questions? Because I don't know the others. All the others, I guess, can be center students to come, and I have very few who are coming. I don't know. So basically, if you want, but don't hesitate to ask me your question. So you understand. So basically, first step. Let's say we're almost at the end of the conference. I would say GMAT remains the most repeatable test. Recognized, used for exchange programs, recognized by the top schools, also recognized also by recruiters. Now, of course, there are other options, but you have to be careful with the other options. It's not the same level. Okay. Was question? So I know there was. There are students that I know. They are not our students yet, but there was. What is his name? It's Pierre. It's Pierre from Monaco. Pierre? Yep. No, there's Pierre. So Pierre, do you have a question? Because you're going to apply for an MIF, probably in the US, and you don't have much choice. It's GMAT or GRE.
Yeah, it's
and if you want a top consulting company or a top investment bank, it's better to have the GMAT because they will have a look at your GMAT. Okay, and they will not understand that you have not, inverted comma, passed the GMAT. Okay. Do you have any question? Are you surprised by what we discussed today, or did you know about all this, or it's a new world for you?
I mean, I had a meeting with WHU, so I had an insight into the text. You presented today, but most of the others, except for TAJMAJ for the French schools, because I was at ESCP or the GRE and GMAT, none of the others had I really taken a look at. But as you said, for me, regardless, the focus will mainly be put upon the GMAT or GRE regardless. So the others remain a good option, obviously, but to
Yeah,
depend.
good option. Yeah. But anyway, Anushka, she was really dreaming of IE, of Lyric, or such school, or the school in Germany, so she didn't care. And you agree, Anushka, you say, okay, no
Yeah.
matter what, I want to go there. So when the GMAT, of course, the problem for her is that instead of applying late January, she applied late March, which means that she got an answer. By the way, it affected you, Anushka, because instead of starting in September, we start in January. I would say
Yes,
that
so we started, yeah.
because we were late because of this, at the same time she's young, she has a job, so she does not really mind. Huh? You see, Anushka, but it's
Yeah.
true that it affects at the same time, and she cannot put a GMAT score on her CV, and she cannot put a IGAT score because they don't give you the score. Okay, they know that she did well, but you will never know her score. Okay, so of course the GMAT is a differentiator. Okay, and now many people know the GMAT and they understand what it is, so they understand that if you get above 700, it's a good score. Me, I find 700 it's not so high, but for the general public, it's a good score. Huh? By the way, you have to see that 700 is not that difficult to get. Huh? 750, 760, yes, but 700, if you practice well for 3 to 6 months, depending, and if you do it well with a good method, with a good approach, it's really achievable. Huh? The problem is that many people they don't work for 6 months. Many people, for instance, when I talk to my students, I say, "Why you stop working this week? What have you done?" So it's true that it's probably difficult to combine work and the preparation, but normally it's achievable. So, for instance, someone like a chat, his English is excellent. He's an engineer. He should get 700, okay, because he has no lacks. It's not like someone who's going to tell me I was 80 maths. I don't even know what is x when x plus 1 is 0. You know that I had someone like that one day. Okay, I remember a Russian guy called Pavel. He was in class and we say x plus 1 is 0, so x is minus 1. And he said, why? And the guy got INSEAD at the end. But of course, he studied for 1 year. He got INSEAD. And with a 650, okay? So I guess that the GMAT math was something like 44 or 51, which is not very good, but the guy could speak 5 languages. He was a social science background, supported by his company. They took him. They're not stupid. They know that for some people it's difficult, so they appreciated that he makes 650. He already reached a 650, which is already not bad, and they decided that maybe they could take him. So I have many examples like this. Okay, of course, if you're an Indian engineer, you study at IIM, and you get on a 650, you will not even get an interview at ESSEC, the MBA. Huh? Okay, of course, because they will not understand how an Indian engineer from IIM, from IT, sorry, gets 650 only. Yeah, for sure. So there's Yanis. I know that you had the meeting with our team, Yanis. Do you have a question to ask, Yanis? Hello?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for inviting us to this interview and for the presentation. I wanted to ask you. You talked about social science background just a minute ago.
Yeah.
I am personally. I've done a humanities curriculum before going to ESCP in a Master's of Science, and I wanted to know, the GMAT scores that were acceptable in American schools.
But which school do you mean, Yanis? Like Harvard, like Wharton? What is it for? For an MIF, for an MBA, for what? For what school, Yanis?
And for a Master of Science.
For an MSc? Yeah, it depends where. For instance, to give you an idea, this year you had 4 students accepted to MIT Master in MIF. So some at the GMAT, others at the GRE, but their score was between 30 plus, 730 plus. Okay, so it depends. It depends where you want to apply. But in the US, they ask for high scores, especially the top schools. They will ask for high scores. If you study, you have MSCs. As you know, in the US, you also have MSCs at Cornell, at Yale, at Princeton. They have MBAs, but they also have specialized masters, and they ask for pretty high scores. So the most reputable, yes, for sure. So it's I would say it's not as difficult as getting the MBA, but it's still very challenging. So you need a good score. Yeah, you need a good score. But we'll talk together basically, and you tell us what you're targeting. But yes, you need a top score. Yeah.
Thank you.
Who else has a question? So basically, we can stop there. Huh? Okay, so basically, I would say that to sum up, the COVID situation has changed many things and forced school to reassess tests. Why? Because for 3 months, between mid-March to late May 2020, it was impossible to take a test. Okay, because it took ETS, the maker of the GRE, and the GMSC, the maker of the GMAT. It took them close to 3 months to launch a home-based version. Okay, so during that time, schools had to reassess the use of tests, and so they started to give their own tests, or they started to give waivers. So ESADE, for instance, decided to launch his own test. Okay, Georgetown or BU decided to give waivers. So they had different approach. Okay, so BU didn't want to bother with tests. They said, okay, we'll find another way. What happened? Okay, so they found out, especially for the second-tier school. I mean, for Michigan, for BU, for Georgetown, for USC Marshall, that they found themselves with many more applicants because they gave waivers. So some schools are thinking now that maybe they should be more generous. They should accept more tests because the GMAT may be a sort of screen, a sort of bottleneck that prevents some good students from applying. Okay, so of course Harvard, Wharton, INSEAD, LBS will not reconsider, but other schools such as Duke, Darden, Cornell, Georgetown, BU that are fighting, that are struggling, they are now reconsidering because getting rid of the GMAT allowed them to add many more French, many more Lebanese, many more Peruvian, many more students coming from these countries. So usually there are few applicants, and it helps. Okay, so now I have, for instance, students who tell me I would apply for an MBA provided that I get a GMAT waiver. It's out of question that I practice test. Okay. And now, BU or Georgetown, they know that if they don't give him a waiver, he will not apply. And some students have a very good profile. So yes, so the COVID has changed many things. And one of the sectors that was affected is international recruitment in general, and tests in particular, because of the in-house test, and because many schools have noticed that they have now many more applicants than before. Voilà. Any other question? So someone asked a question, I don't know. Anush Bhagat, how to start applying for the identity test? The section different from the GMAT. What is, yeah, okay. So it's a good. By the way, Anushka, if you want to talk to Anushka Bhagat, and you will tell her.
Yeah,
Anushka,
sure.
I don't know if you know Anushka Bhagat.
Yes, sir. I know her. I know.
So basically, I would say yes. The GMAT. Yeah, you're right. So basically, what happens with us is that a lot of students start with the GMAT because we have a compulsory GMAT course and we have a compulsory GMAT test. Okay, every Saturday. So they start with the GMAT, and of course, depending on what they do, we reassess. So usually we say, okay, you have a good GMAT, but it's not good enough. Let's go for the GRE because you're pretty close. So basically, the GRE preparation and GMAT preparation are pretty close. So what people will do at the center, they will still come to a general class, and instead of having a GMAT class on Saturday afternoon, but they will have a GRE test. So they will take the GRE test. Okay, and of course, for their private work, they will work with official guides, with material that is GRE material, so and access to that, even though they have signed for the GMAT. And then, of course, so the GMAT is the most difficult test. So if you have prepared the GMAT, it will be easier for you to adapt to the other tests. But of course, you have then to follow a specific preparation for tests. So basically, what we do at MBA Center, if the student feels that is enough, we give him access to a drive where we have a lot of IGAT material available. Okay, we have even access now to a book. Anushka at that time didn't have it. So there's access, there's access to a book and to a lot of practice. So basically, when we say, okay, you're good at the GMAT or you're good enough, you can do a lot of self-study. Okay, and of course, if the student has problem, we can give him private tutoring. Okay, as I told you, you see Anushka Bhagat, there is no score for the IGAT because they don't publish their score. But we know that they want students to get at least 50% of the question right to accept them. So 50% of the question right. So it means that when you're at home, try to get 60, 65 to maybe reach the famous the 50% cutoff. Okay. Is there any MIM school in the US? Isham. Yes, of course, there are many MIM schools in the US, Isham. So basically, sometimes the program is not called an MIM. There is called a Master in Management, an MNS, is going to call an MS, 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 etc. But there are many. By the way, if you read my post, starting probably in 1 week, I have prepared 7 blogs on my LinkedIn profile, and they will be also advertised by Anushka, people who are in contact with you, who explain the advantage of studying in the US. So basically, number one MIM in the US, it's Duke, okay, Duke Fuqua, a very good MIM. Number 2 is Michigan, okay, Michigan Ross, I'm sure that you know them. Number 3, it's Boston University, so what we call Castrom School of Business. Number 4, it's Notre Dame Mendoza. And I will rank number 5, Georgetown McDonald School of Business. Okay, and there, by the way, there are many more. But usually our students. So this year we're going to promote US programs. By the way, we'll organize a one-on-one with Duke, with Michigan Ross, with BU, etc. We'll invite only the top 5. Okay. By the way, there's also Georgetown. So basically Duke. Okay, and there's also Notre Dame Mendoza. Anushka, Mendoza, Notre Dame. Mendoza School of Business. That's the top 5. To tell you the truth, I didn't go very far because MD Center, we're now publishing strategy guides, and we make strategy guides only on the top 20 MIMs. So Duke and Michigan are in the top 20 MIMs. But of course, BU, I know BU because I studied, as you know, I studied at Harvard. And there was, I used to lecture at BU when BU, the business school, was not called Castrom School of Business at that time. So, by the way, BU, is as big as Harvard. It's a different type of campus, so it's a big educational institution in the US. Okay. What else can I say? So that's the program. So yes, there are good schools in the US, and I would really suggest that you go there. Especially that some of these programs are what we call STEM program. Okay, and Nimesh can tell you what it is. So you can study, you can stay in the US 3 years after graduation if it's a STEM program. So it means that you're going to study in the US for 1 year. You will stay there for 3 years. As you know, salaries are very high in the US. No language barrier. And if you have worked in the US for 3 years, it's almost sure that you get a job after that. That's a big advantage of the US. US is the only country that will give you a 3-year visa. The only country in the West, okay, as far as I know, that will give you a 3-year visa to stay after graduation. Okay. Ariane, program offered by ESSEC. You have heard that one of has to be under 30 years old. So I've lived in France for 1 year. Okay, so basically, yeah, so it's another type of question. So basically, what happens? So ESSEC, but there are other programs now to do that. They have taken something that was developed by Germans, which is called apprenticeship. So how does it work? Usually, but you know, for instance, the University of Dauphine has that as well. So it's not the only program in France that has that. Basically, the way it works is that if you go for an apprenticeship, so for instance, a lot of students who do the MBA in hotel management go for apprenticeship. So you have classes, you work from Monday to Thursday, normally that's the plan that they have, and then Friday and Saturday you have classes, okay? So the advantage of apprenticeship is that first, the government will pay for your studies, okay? And so on and so forth, you will receive something like $1,200, $1,500 per month. Most of the students who are in the hotel management program at ESSEC, which is a very reputable one, go for this program. So instead of doing the master in management in 1 year, you'll have to take 2 years. But at the same time, you pay nothing and you receive a salary for 2 years. Okay, it's not an easy life at the same time, but at the same time, I find that it prepares you for real life. Because you have to work 4 days a week, study for 2 days. So it's you're getting prepared for a big challenge. Instead of partying, doing nothing, at least you're busy with something. So yes, of course, for the apprenticeship, you have to be less than 30 years old because the apprenticeship is normally designed for students who are going to masters. So it's usually these people are between 21 and 25, 26. And of course, according to French rules, it's the most important. It's not valid for people who are over 30 years old. Okay, voilà. So now, for instance, to give you an idea, You have students, for instance, who study at LBS, and as you know, at LBS, you have classes from Mondays to Thursdays, and you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. You have many students, for instance, who follow LBS or other programs in the UK, where usually you have classes until Thursday, and we have like a part-time job. That's another opportunity. So it's not an apprenticeship. Okay, as you know, you're allowed to study, to work for 20 hours per week. So it can be enough. But of course, the advantage of the apprenticeship is that it is very well structured. They pay for your studies, so you know that. Because you, Ariane, Shaw, how old are you? You over 30 years old? Are you over 30 years old? Hello, Ariane Shaw. If you're over 30 years old, it's going to be difficult. Yes, you have to find another one. So we'll have, by the way, a seminar on financing your programs. And apprenticeship is one of them, but of course, there's also an issue that you need to have. There's also an issue with papers as well. And if you have an apprenticeship, in Syrian, you need to find a company. You cannot, if you arrive in September and you don't have a company, you cannot have an apprenticeship. So you need to have a company that's going to hire you. Anybody else has a question? Hello? It was nice to talk to you. So thank you very much, Animesh. Thank you very much, Anushka. Thank you very much, Anis, for coming here. Thank you very much for Pierre. I will send you the proposal, by the way, Pierre. Thank you very much, Akshat. Don't hesitate to revert to me so that we finalize your application, Akshat. And of course,
Yes.
Voilà. Okay. So let's go there. Okay. So I wish you a good day. You're fine? Hello? Hello?
Hi.
So we stay in contact. So don't hesitate to visit the MBA Center blog, visit check my post, because I try to be really up to date. Every time there's something new, I write on it. Okay? Voilà.
Okay.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.